Hey guys, Kevin Wipashinsky here with my very first YouTube tutorial video, and I'm going to show you how to get better audio quality for under $100. So when I first started recording myself on YouTube, I ran into the issue of trying to get good audio quality in a really crappy sound environment, which is a small tiny little room in my basement. Doesn't really give you much for echo, and any kind of reverb or echo that it does give you is not one that you want. It kind of sounds like you're playing in a bathroom. So I really had a couple of options. One of them was to try to record in an ambient in the room, which was tough because it was a room that wasn't very good for recording in that style. By ambient, I mean putting my iPhone in a spot that I think is best in the room, or trying to get some other microphone that's going to go into either my computer or my phone, and that's going to pick up the sound that's coming out of my amp indirectly. The other thing I tried was going into a digital audio workstation. I actually just use GarageBand on my Mac. You know, a lot of people use Pro Tools or Logic, something like that. That's the best way to do it, really, but it does get kind of expensive. If you wanted to get a program like that, you need to get a digital audio interface to convert so that your audio can go into your computer somehow. And then it's fairly time consuming because you're going to have to line up that audio, get the audio file, match it to your video somehow later on in like a post-production type of thing. So what I wanted to talk about today was actually kind of the simplest, quickest, and a very cheap way to get decent audio quality. Now this isn't, like I said, this is not going to be as good as if you go through a digital audio workstation and line it up in post-production and try to get this, you know, extremely high quality studio sound. This is kind of like the happy medium, but it's extremely worth it for the amount of work that it takes. It's just a couple of cables, and I'll get right to it so that I don't keep rambling on. Basically what we're doing is going directly out of, in this case it's my amp. My amp has an output of a male XLR. And so I take a female XLR cable and I get a cable that transfers from female XLR over to male TRRS. And that's the key. Not TRS, but TRRS. TRS is your standard headphone jack without a microphone. We need TRRS. There's an extra ring on the cable that allows it to become a microphone. So like any headphones that come with your iPhone are TRRS if they're the old style jack, so that microphone will work. This is basically taking your XLR and turning it into that. In my case, I do need another step. I have an iPhone, so I have to go into that lightning cable port, and that's just another cable to basically transfer from TRRS over to iPhone lightning cable, I think it's called. But it's extremely simple because all you have to do is plug this in and it automatically becomes the default microphone for your iPhone or for whatever phone you're using. There's no device that has to go in between them. You don't have to line up the audio afterwards. It's very simple, and it's right away. And I think the biggest thing that this gives you as far as an advantage is that any kind of ambient noise that you have going on, it doesn't matter. Like my air conditioner is always running outside when I'm trying to record a song. It doesn't matter. Unless the mic that I'm singing into can pick it up, which it usually doesn't, it's not going to affect this at all because you're not getting any kind of outside noise. It's only what you want to give it. So the setup that I have is I've got my guitar, I've got a microphone, and those two things go right into my amp. My amp has two channels, so that is basically a mixer, a small mixer. And I can do whatever adjustments I need there as far as volumes, and then it has one single output. It's a mono output. I believe you can do this stereo. I haven't looked into exactly what you need to do it stereo, but I think you can if you wanted. And so I take that mono output and I plug this cable in, which the cable that I'm using, it's a Movo TCB3-2 or -II. I think it's a Roman numeral. And so all I have to do is basically plug that in and plug it right into, in this case, my adapter cable. If you were using any kind of phone other than an iPhone, you could just plug it right into your phone. That allows you to get pretty high quality audio without any kind of interference. So that's kind of the trick. I'm going to pull these cables and show you, and you'll kind of hear the difference in audio actually when I do, because as you can see I'm going through a microphone right now. I'm going to pull this cable off and I'll show you what the cables look like, and that's basically going to make it so that my iPhone's default microphone becomes the microphone, and you'll hear kind of the echo in the room, you'll hear the change. I did want to talk one more about another advantage of this. If you're playing in like a band, right? And I actually tried this out with my band that I'm in. And if you're playing in a band, I'm a drummer, and so I always hated the way drums sound when you just set a microphone in the room. No matter how good the quality of the room is or the microphone that you're using, drums sound like garbage. You get too much high-end cymbals, you get no kick, thud. It just doesn't sound right unless you properly mic a drum set. That was my biggest advantage, I thought, recording with my band. Now all of a sudden you don't get all that extra noise that you get from a full drum set like that. There's not a lot of cymbal wash, there's not a lot of garbage. You do have to mic the drums, obviously. You got to get the overheads and you got to mic each individual drum, but you can adjust your volumes that way, and it makes for a very simple recording, a quality recording of your band. And the best thing about this is, and I plan to use it with my band for Facebook Live or YouTube Live, whatever, that's going to allow us to just basically take one single output from the mixer. We have our mix all set up how we want it, and go right into my phone with everything. And I've tried it, and it actually sounds pretty good. I've got some levels to adjust from the last time I tried it, but you can make a pretty good sounding audio recording with just this, and I think it's a really cool idea, and it makes it quick and simple. And I'm gonna play an example now. Actually, I'll go first. I'll do just the ambient audio in my basement downstairs, in my room down there, and you'll hear the difference. You'll hear it's a lot less present, because you're just hearing what's coming out of the amp and into the iPhone speaker. And then I'll go with this setup through the cable, and that does make a big difference. You can really hear it. I do think it does need a little bit of EQ sometimes. I like to boost the low end a little bit with the setup that I have, but it's a really nice way to kind of clean up your audio, make it sound a little bit more professional. Reverb comes out a lot better. Vocals sound way better. It's just a good idea all around, and it's cheap and it's easy. So here I'm going to unplug here, and I'll show you what I actually am using. So here's the adapter. This is the female XLR. You can see that, to male TRRS. You can see TRRS has one little extra rubber ring there that allows it to become a microphone. The other thing I wanted to mention about this specific one, this is that Movo, I think is the brand, TCB3, and it actually has a few different ways that you can adjust the input level. So for just speaking into the microphone, I had it set to the 0 decibel. That's the highest input level. There's -10, -40. I find that when I'm doing music stuff and this is plugged into my amp, I use the -40 because there's no clipping. I do get a little bit. If I were to go up to 0, it gets pretty gritty and nasty. So I would actually recommend getting something where you can adjust the input levels. Definitely going to be a benefit there. And then you get this monitor one. It doesn't monitor live. I kind of wished that it would. You have to record the video, then plug your headphones in, then you can hear it. But yeah, that's what I'm using there. And then this is the one that I use, and these are everywhere. You just want to make sure that you don't get a TRS on this end. It has to be TRRS. This is the Boya BY-K3 is what I'm using. So that's my setup.